So you want to work in the woods as a witch. So you want to experience those energies. Well, I have some stories about that. And if you're really interested, please carry on watching. Hi guys. This week, and I've got a cup of tea at the moment, I hope you don't mind. I've been a bit busy today. So, nice cup of tea. I wanted to talk today about working with spirit, but in the woods. How it feels, what it's like, have you ever done it, and do you understand the difference in the energies? When you work as a witch indoors, there is one way of doing things. Certain metals that you can work with and herbs and things like that. Whereas in the woods or in any grass area, you've got different types of energies that you're going to be working with, and also you need to use different tools as gratitude for being allowed by spirit folk to be able to work there. When you work in the woods, either alone or as a group, it's totally different. You get a totally different atmosphere. You can sense the different energies, and sometimes they're very male orientated and sometimes they're very female orientated, depending on what time of the year and what type of ritual that you might be doing. For example, if you was doing summer solstice, if you were doing that one day of the year where it's the longest day and the shortest night, the energies are very male orientated, and you can bring through with invocations many gods, many of them that are rampant, and those energies you need to understand before doing this. I would never suggest to anybody that is new to it to go into the woods alone at night and do a ritual if they've never done it before, because it can be quite scary. Those forces are very strong, and B, you don't know how to control the protection that you need, and you don't know who you're dealing with, because you might have called some deity that you're interested in, but the deity of those woods is the one that's going to come. And that's another thing, guys. When you're in your own space, you can cast a circle and call the gods or the goddesses that you wish. But when you're in the woods, you have to understand that there are deities already in the woods. There are fairy folk and spirit creatures. And there are also different types of energies. The air, the fire, the water and the earth are stronger. You don't have to invoke them because they're already present. All you do is welcome them to be with you. It's not like you're calling them through a portal. It's nothing like that. So when you start to work outdoors, the best things you can do is have your salt bath before you go. Make sure you've got the things and the tools that you wish to take with you. Don't overburden yourselves with loads of things. Obviously, as a coven, you've got more than one person, and each person can take the things, separately, and then you can combine them all. I'm not going to talk about my coven days because it's not fair on the rest of the coven to divulge things. But what I will talk about is when I've worked out there, not with the coven but with other people that are okay with me sharing, and the things that will help you to attain the outcome that you're looking for. Now, the difference between, as I said, being indoors and being outdoors is nature itself. Nature and the spirit realms. You are so close to the other spirit realms when you're in a nature place. Even though indoors you may have lots of grass and trees around you. They're not in your house. So you have to pull all that in, and that takes a lot of ritual and energy to do so. When you go into the wooded areas, you will find that you don't need so much of that, what you have to do. So for a start, you don't have to clean all the area and sanctify it all. You don't have to do none of that in the woods, because it is as it is. You walk into a ready-made sanctuary, a sanctuary that you can use to your potential and to the gods or goddesses that you're going to call. You will know that it will be a dual god or goddess, because you will have the one that's native to that area as well as the one that you may be calling upon. And you need to do your research before you go there, because you do not want to be calling up one goddess that you want, yet there's another one that is totally against, and they do not hit it off, because that will cause turmoil in your ritual and could cause you a lot of grief. So you need to be savvy on this, guys. You need to do your research. So if you're going to a certain wooded area that has a name, look it up, find out the ancestry of it. And yes, I know it's a lot of work, but the outcome will be worth it. Because if you find there's an old deity from that area that could be just what you're looking for, you don't need to call upon another one. You can call upon that ancient deity for that area, which is an amazing thing to do. Time and time again, you will get people that will freak out in those energies because they are so strong. I know that one time we were out in the beautiful wooded area and there was a stream nearby, and the fire, obviously a lovely fire burning, and all of us in our positions dancing around the fire, raising the energy that's building with the energy that's already there in the woods. That's another thing, guys. When you're building your energy up, it's merging with the energy of everything around you in that area. And so it's more intense, it's more powerful. And your voice can be heard by deity. In this particular time, it was summer solstice. And we did actually hear almost like hoofs dancing. And of course, you know, people would say, well, that's obviously animals in the area. And you could say that to yourself, but it was very sort of 2 feet type of noise. Now, Pan is renownedly known for coming into rituals when called by invocation or evocation. Probably the better one would be evocation, for you don't really want him taking you over, because if Pan takes a male person over, things can get very dangerous, because he is rampant. He is full of that energy, that male testosterone, that male wanting to bond with a female. And the person that would be targeted would be the high priestess of the group. And yes, she can deal with things like that, but not in abundance, very strong, powerful. In a circle, in a house maybe, but not so much in the woods. If you really want to see the supernatural at play, do it in the woods. But there have been lovely times at summer solstice that I've been alone and done a small ritual in the woods, and have received, by not asking for deity, I have received what has been meant for me, and that in itself is a brilliant way of doing so. For if you just sit there with the fire, walk around your fire, and just give out what comes from the heart, and sanctify yourself with water and fire and air and earth, and just dance and call upon those that are present. and celebrate the solstice with them. That is far more powerful in your heart and soul than calling on strong deities that might not be so kind and cause havoc. These energies are something that you have to learn to work with. And another point is also to not use metal in the woods. Each tool has a representation, and so using metal can be quite offensive to the spirit world and the fairies and all those that occupy that their home they've opened up for you. And so you have to be respectful. And so the best thing that you can use is wooded items. So if you have an athame or a sword, try to get a wood one and find out the different woods and what they represent, and use the one that is right for your ritual. And when you call the circle, using the sword if you wish, using a wooden one will be more respectable. The wand is sometimes used rather than, because it is more lighter and airy and more acceptable. So it is entirely up to you. Some people don't use any tools, they just go there and use their fingers and just use their heart and their mind and their soul. And that to me I think is better. But I know that there are some witches that are traditional and like to use the tools of the trade, and it's the way they've been taught and it's the way they enjoy working. So just be respectful of the spirits and all the other fairy folk and creatures that you cannot see but may be able to hear. It also depends on the moon phase as to how dark it is in the woods. If you have a full moon, it is beautiful, but if you have a new moon, it is very dark. And so go prepared, guys. We used to have torches on sticks that used to put in the ground, and we used to put them round in a circle, or at the quarters at least, to give you a little bit of light, as well as the bonfire. These are all things that will help you to stay safe. These are the things that will give you more knowledge, more experience, and if you're very brave, spend time in the woods alone without any ritual. Find a comfortable spot and lay there and stay there all night. And just listen to what's going on around you. And there have been very famous witches that have done this. To stay out all night till dawn, from dusk to dawn, in the wooded area. Just you. And to lay and to just lay and be in the zone. Don't move, just let what's going to happen. And of course in the UK we don't have such awful creatures that could cause us any grief, but we are protected by deity and spirit, and you believe that. You can put a circle around you as well if that's what you wish. To stay in there all night from dusk to dawn will open your eyes. You will hear things and feel things that you've never felt before. If your eyes are closed, you won't see these things. Now, I'm not talking about ghosts, I'm not talking about spirits. I'm talking about the animals of the land that may be curious of why this human is laying there, or laying there quietly. And they may come up and sniff you or touch you with their nose, or just allow it to be. They will not hurt you. You are protected. But of course this is not for everyone. You need to make that choice yourself. But if you are the bravest of the brave and you want to feel that, then do it when you know it's right for you. So look up all the phases of the moon and what sign they're in and what would be the best time of the year for you, things like that. And when you're ready to do it, ask a blessing ask that deity be with you and that you learn from it, and you will have an experience. And come dawn, make sure you eat and drink, so take something with you, but obviously do not eat while you're doing this. It's got to be really on an empty stomach, because the spiritual always comes a lot more if you have an empty stomach. Now, I'm talking about this today, guys, because we are coming up, or supposedly in summer now, and more people will be experimenting with their craft. And I've had many experiences in the woods, and I can tell you, if there's one place I would feel safest in, would be the woods, especially in England, because we don't get really poisonous snakes or anything like that. We can really trust the animals. I think the worst that you would get would be maybe a fox. That is just one experiment that you can try, and you can add that then to your grimoire or any book of shadows or anything that you own as an experience. And anything that comes to you when you are laying there can also be from spirit or deity, and you can also write that down in your book of shadows or grimoire. A lovely thing to have in your past, something to look back on. The thing with witchcraft, guys, is it's experimental, and it's all about doing, not just reading up or seeing what other people do. It's you transforming into something different to who you was. It's you experiencing the unconventional, the things that you wouldn't even think about doing, but things that will change you and change the way you perceive the world and everything that goes on in your life. When you've had a profound experience that others haven't, it's very difficult, because they don't understand what you felt and how you feel about it and what it's done for you. You can do the same thing in your own back garden if you don't want to go to a wooded area. If you have a garden with a quiet spot in it, just go out there. Then, obviously, if you do get scared or you get too cold or you can't do it, you can just pop back indoors. So it's worth thinking about, guys, because also you have to put the bonfire out when it's night time. So when you're ready to go to lay down, you put the fire out if you had one alight. I would never suggest that you did it in an area that's got a lot of strong deity things, like the Tor, for example. I know it was a place where I know of people that have gone there and have gone up the Tor and stayed the night and wish they hadn't, because there are very strong fairy and the spirits of the ancestral, and they all come to that point. It is ley lines that go through there, and so people do see things and hear things, and it can be quite scary. So I would never suggest that if you're a person that gets scared very quickly to go there. And if you did go there, take a tent with you. I know people that do that, and then they drum in the dawn, but they're used to doing it, guys. If you're not used to doing it, don't pick areas like that. I just wanted to talk about working in the woods, different to being indoors. It is great. So as I said to you at the beginning, have a nice salt bath, because you're going to consecrate the salt and put it into the water, and then put some flowers in there as well if you want. Lay in the bath, and every part of the body needs to be submerged for a few seconds so that the whole of your body has been purified. You are then cleansed for spiritual work. Now, I would also say do not eat for that day, because an empty body doesn't make wind. It doesn't have trouble digesting and making you want to go to the toilet halfway through the ritual. So by doing that, just sipping water, and I would say sip lemon water, you remember that when you're out there, you've only got you and what you're taking with you. And so have a cleansed body in and out. Meditate while in the bath, a cleansed mind. And then seek deity before you go to aid you, or your helpers. Then when you get to there, I suggest you get there earlier in the evening while it's light. Cut down some of the wood that you're going to do from the trees, branches and things, and then store them in a corner, because you will often get people walking through that area, walking their dogs or whatever. And you don't want to be doing the ritual till about midnight, so that you know for definite you're not going to get people catching you doing your rituals. Now, if there's more than one of you, that's great, because it takes a lot of time to set things up. But you get to midnight, you light the fire, ritualistic words while lighting it, a sort of giving it an energy boost to get that to catch. And once alight, you've got your main focus, the bonfire. Then if you've brought food and drink and a cloth to put on the floor or blanket for after ritual, that's a very nice thing to do. Bring the bare essentials of what you need. Now, some people will bring some flowers, which I don't see as necessary, because you are in the woods, guys. And there is foliage everywhere. You don't need to bring flowers. So just bring the chalice for your consecrations, the athame, the bread or whatever you're going to have to break in the bread and wine. So you're going to partake of that, so you need that. You need your incense, definitely. You need lights. You need some water to put the fire out with. And basically, that's about it. So if you can find somewhere that you can set up an altar, that would be great. And when you do your incense, you can either use sticks and put them in the fire, you know, on the outside of the fire, so that you get it wafting out with the flames, or you can buy a little bowl and put a little charcoal disc, and then you put loose incense on that, and I think that is better when you're out. You need your candles also, guys, to take the light around. You also need salt and water, because you're going to put that in a bowl and consecrate, and that will then be taken around as well. And of course you are standing on earth, and the altar is also a representation of earth. And so you have everything there. You don't really need your sword or your athame or anything. Just use your hand and go around with that, if you're going to do all that, of course. If not, if you're not going to do all of that, you don't need to bring any of it. Just yourself, the bonfire, food, water, or food, wine and water. You definitely need to bring the water, guys, as I said, for putting the fire out. You don't want a bushfire or a tree fire. And the blanket and the food for afterwards, if you're going to stay there afterwards. And I've got to say, guys, that is the best part. After a beautiful ritual, sitting on a blanket at 2 o'clock in the morning, eating hot potatoes and bits and pieces like sausage rolls and things like that. And you're eating that by a bonfire with all the people that you are the closest to, because you are trusting of them all. And it is a wonderful experience, and one that I miss. I do miss it. But even on your own, you can sit there for a while and have something to eat and drink, just being in that energy. But it's a growing experience, and one that is great to try out. So if you've got any questions, guys, I don't know whether this is going to help any of you out there, but it was just something that I thought would be interesting to you all, on how to recognise the difference and give it a go and see how you feel about it. And if you've done those things before, let me know how you got on. Now, of course, I've been talking about traditional witchcraft. This is not Norse, but in the Norse tradition, it would be me sitting out there with a bonfire, with my horn of plenty, with mead in it or wine, and maybe some bread to partake of. But I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be calling on the gods themselves to aid me in some way, but we would be working together, and I would use a fire. And I would probably do a sacrifice of some sort. Now, I'm not talking about animals, guys. but maybe blood, maybe my blood, who knows. But it would be done totally different, but to every person who's different paths will do it the way they want to do it. This is just the general way that many witches use in England. So if you want to try the Nordic way, it would be different. It would be more raw. It would be more giving sacrifice and calling the powers to be, to give honour, and to sit there really and ask for that knowledge, ask for help, see what they have to say, maybe throw some runes. You can do that in a group, you know, a blot. That would be what we would do. It would be slightly different, but along the same terms. Just some ideas for you guys. So if you want to let me know how you've done it in the past, or you're going to try it and you have an experience, let me know. I'm really interested to hear how other people enjoy it. And so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you to those that do still come and watch my content. I really do appreciate you. And so wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of the Land.